Well, hi there. Thanks for joining me. Today we're going to go over 4 different online brands, personal brands that are different industries, different businesses, different kinds of people. But it's all to give you an idea of the possibilities. Because if you're someone who has done a really good job of building a network locally or perhaps within your industry, but it's not translating into your personal brand, in that you have an email list of folks that you can have permission to email and keep in touch with and serve in that way, then it's something you might want to be thinking about going forward, because your email list, a professional email list, can be a great insurance policy against a lot of uncertainty out there in the marketplace that is probably going to pop up in the next few years or so. So mid-career people also have a unique opportunity in this sense, because we do have these deep networks, these deep relationships, this experience behind us. Now it's our job to leverage that, scale our impact, and also possibly even scale your revenue and your income. But that's for another day. Today, let's just talk about some examples. And these are people that have been doing this for a while. So I don't want you to think that it's going to pop up for you in the next 3 days. But at the same time, it doesn't have to take 10 years like it has for some of them, because things online are happening so quickly. The other thing that they have in common is they leverage video and have leveraged video since the beginning. And that is a huge factor in the rate of their growth, because video equals velocity in building your online presence, your online brand, and connections with other people. Okay, let's get started. Okay, the first person I want to talk about is Janine Blackwell. And she's a great example of someone who has more recently done really well online. She is the founder and owner and CEO of Janine Blackwell, but her flagship course is 6-Figure Course Creation. And she also teaches people who want to create courses how to do that. She also has some other courses that she offers, and then also some coaching opportunities as well. But so what she has done is, she actually is somebody that I know and have a lot of respect for, and I watched her trajectory progress with, I'm super proud of her, because what's happened is, after a couple of really successful launches, she knew that she was going to need to do something better to scale up at the rate that she wanted to, and to remain competitive in a super competitive space online, which is online course instruction. So what she did was, she wrote this book, An Expert Called You, and then she, who is somebody who is not eager to be out in front of the spotlight, decided to go ahead and create a set of videos that she now releases every Monday as part of the Expert Called You series. And what these videos are is basically, she's answering the top questions that she gets from her audience. And the production value on them is high, and she batches these videos, so it's very efficient. And they're scripted, but not stilted. She's got a very warm presentation. And again, she distributes 1 video per week, and always answering a very specific question. Now, from that kind of content node, using kind of a video as her pillar content, then she creates smaller pieces of content to put on Facebook, or I believe she's on Instagram as well. And that's kind of the extent of her basic social media strategy. Through this, she serves her existing audience really well, and she also serves up really shareable content. And this has been a really successful strategy for her. The other thing that's great about it from the entrepreneur's point of view is it keeps the distribution part very efficient, because she batches the video production, and then the distribution part can all be done ahead of time and automated, and it just doesn't blow up your business to be doing more video and in a more connecting way than simply, maybe going on Facebook Live every once in a while. Because if you don't have a big following of Facebook Live, and if you're not paying ads, and you're not paying to have things posted on Facebook, nobody's really seeing that content on Facebook anymore, because the reach is so low. Okay, So that's Janine, and I'll just show you really quickly down here. Her most favorite platform is Facebook, or that's where most of her people are. She's got groups on Facebook, so that's really where she plays. It's another way she keeps a lot of efficiency in her business is she focuses pretty much on Facebook as her main gig, and then and then also using these videos as the outreach. You notice that she doesn't even have YouTube here on her social stuff. I mean, in my opinion, she's leaving some money on the table by not leveraging her YouTube a little bit more, but that's where she's at right now. Okay, now this is an example of somebody who this just happened in the last 2 or 3 years that she's gotten big and created these videos and started to use them on a regular basis in her social media and outreach to her email list. All right, so that's number one. And by the way, did I mention that the book, so this book all kind of ties into that strategy, because this is her main, what's called a lead magnet, to get people to sign up on the email list, and then they'll get notice of her videos coming out, as well as seeing her on Facebook quite a bit. All right, let's look at Darren Hardy. So this is interesting because let me just show you really quickly. I did this spreadsheet for you guys. I won't go over all of this because it's really not that interesting to look at a spreadsheet on somebody else's screen. But what I wanted to show you is his website is doing really well. This is the Alexa ranking for the most visited site, like where a website ranks in traffic, basically. So down here, YouTube is the second most visited site. Google is number 1. Facebook is the 4th. So that's what this all is here. But his own website is at 34,000 most visited traffic. And that's not that far behind Gary Vaynerchuk, GaryVee. So I think that that's kind of interesting that he's driving that kind of traffic to his site. So if that's part of your goal, you might check out and see if you can reverse engineer Darren Hardy's SEO, because that is really excellent. So going back to what he's up to. So here's his official website, which is kind of his corporate home base. It talks about everything that he works on, training and programs and speaking. But then here is his driver, the Darren Daily. So on Darren Daily, this is something that he started about 4 years ago. And the reason I like to point it out, because I actually went to one of his conferences when I didn't know it at the time, but he was just going through this process of creating the strategy and implementing the strategy to take a really significant offline presence. He was very well known in certain speaking circles, certain sales circles, MLM world, real estate speaking as a motivational sales speaker. I also was a publisher of Success Magazine for several years. So he had a lot of people who knew who he was offline. But as far as a personal brand online, he hadn't really exploited that yet, to be honest. Well, he's a super smart guy. So he created this really cool strategy, and in the last few years has built an email list of people that he can personally email. He has their permission to email them, of at least 350,000 people. This number's been up there for a few months, so I bet it's bigger than that by now. So, and the way that he did that, what was his strategy? So what he did was he went and wrote short scripts of over 200 motivational little talks. They're 3 to 5 minute talks, and they're based on his experience as with Success Magazine, his personal experience as it relates to this kind of content, people that he's met, experiences that he's had. Anyway, created 200 plus little scripts around that, sat down, and I don't know within how much time, they probably broke it out in over a few different meetings, but he sat down, he batch produced those. He delivered all of those stories within a few weeks of each other, is my guess. He has the same blue shirt on in every single one of them, same setting. And then those all got edited. And then when you sign up for the email list, back when he started this promotion, you sign up for the email list. And then so you get a Darren Daily motivational talk from your success mentor in your email inbox every single morning during the week. every day of the year during the week. He's in the inbox with really great content, well delivered. But this is what's so great about it too. You don't get the email unless you're on the email list. So it has an exclusivity around it. And if you don't watch the video within 72 hours, if you don't go through to the link through to the video, then it disappears. You don't get access to it anymore. And there's actually a video that says, sorry, you missed it. And I really love the idea that he created some scarcity and some exclusivity around his content when in this world that is just awash with free content. So that was brilliant. And if you already have a lot of professional credibility, and this is the kind of content that you could be producing, then this kind of strategy that you could think about as well is how do you make it, create some scarcity around it, create an exclusive feel to it. So that built his email list up to, over probably closer to 500,000 by now. And those are people that every year he can invite at certain times of the year to participate and join his programs, right? So it's a great source of revenue and new sales, is doing these launches to an email list. So that's Darren's deal. Let me just show you his YouTube channel really quickly. Now you will see a lot of videos on there, but they're not necessarily the video of the day. So again, the video of the day, you have to be on the email list to get. Okay. All right. And as you can see, he's got 55,000 subscribers. And he joined in 2011. So that's not bad. Okay. The key to, the last person I want to talk about, well, let me just touch on Charlene Johnson. She's a little more unquote, she's more like the traditional personal brand, if you can say that, because this is all such new stuff online, right? But she was a fitness expert back in the day, and she has parlayed that into business coaching, lifestyle coaching, motivational speaking. She's really fun. She's a force of nature, and she's somebody who has, in a really intelligent way, parlayed her personal brand and continues to develop it and keep up with the times. She has part of her content is a co-producing with her son, and it's targeting millennials more and business and entrepreneurs. So smart lady, really fun, and on brand, 99% of the time. What she does also that is a little different. She's kind of your typical extrovert entrepreneur. Now, I think, I know Janine for a fact, she's more of an introvert. Darren Hardy is more of an introvert, even though he has a big brand. The way I believe introverts are most comfortable in this new world where, we feel like sometimes we're supposed to be burying our soul to build audience online is not necessarily true. You get to choose what you share and how. And because it's based on what your audience is resonating with and what you're good at, the kind of value that you're good at delivering. So you don't have to feel like you have to overshare to be relevant in this brand new world. You don't. Charlene, her audience really enjoys knowing her life, like the personal side of her life. And so she's been sharing that for many, many years, starting out with the workout videos. And now it's about travel and motivation and being kind of your best girlfriend. She's on several different platforms. You can visit those at your own time. Let's just go to her YouTube channel really quickly. Yeah, this was a little interesting that her branding on YouTube doesn't match the branding on her website. So I'm wondering if there's something in flux there, but because this looks a little bit more updated, but that's it's an aside, that's the branding. So here again, her playlists kind of can give you an overview of the different kinds of information and content that her audience likes to consume and looks to her for. And then also she joined in 2006. So she's been working, and she has over 4.5 million views. So that's what YouTube over time can do for you. But I just want to tell you, it's not linear. Like, you're not going to have to say, oh, it's 2020. It's going to take me that many years to get 4 million views. It could take you 2 or 3 years, seriously, depending upon what the topic is, who your audience is, and how much time you put into it. to get a good mass, like good critical mass of views. But the end game is email addresses. So that's for most people, most personal brands coming online more, moving their, their magic online. Usually the main goal is email list, and the whole strategy is constructed to serve that. And we could talk about that all day another way. So, but I won't. Okay, the last guy is somebody you probably heard of. One of my favorites. In some ways, he's hard to relate to, but he's just such a good template for several things. The first thing I want to point out is he never ever talks about himself, hardly at all. Now you might be thinking, he's got this big ego, he's always kind of loud, he's brash. But if you really follow his content, especially in contrast to some of the people that I do follow, and they really do talk about themselves in a really self-centered way too much. And even his homepage, like he's pointing out at you guys, he does talk about his experiences and sometimes his opinions about business things or about social media or about how somebody, their decisions or how entrepreneurship should be, or an entrepreneur should be making these decisions. But his content is always about the audience. And so I encourage you to listen to his content with that in mind, because that is the key. We don't want to fall into this trap of thinking that we have to make up stories about ourselves and that our online presence is our soapbox to be sharing so much of our opinion and our glory days or, our accomplishments. All of that needs to be put into the context of why would they care? Why would someone care? Because voyeuristic interest is only going to get you so far. Voyeurs who actually are interested in, personal details of your life just for the titillation of it, they're probably not going to be a good customer for you. So if they ever become one. So long way of saying, I have this mantra in my head now when I'm thinking about content. I'm like, would GaryVee post that? What would he say? What would he say about that content? Is that about my audience, or is that something that just is about me venting, for example? Okay. His strategy is omnichannel. And I have this summary here. Again, I think I mentioned it. If you guys can download that, it'll put all this in context for you. You might want to watch this with it in hand, in fact. His strategy is omnichannel because he's a media guy, right? And he's been doing stuff online since he developed Wine Library TV in the early days of YouTube. And again, using video since the very beginning. And he continues to leverage video more heavily than any other kind of content in his social media, even though YouTube is not his primary platform. Instagram is his favorite platform right now, kind of his home, but he obviously has a YouTube channel. The way that he uses YouTube and video is this is a way that you can create a lot of video using repurposing. The idea is to repurpose it. I've heard it referred to as the GaryVee content pyramid, and I don't know if he made that up or not, but it's not really that, any good editor could have told you that this is one thing that you can do. So one thing that you can do is you can take these longer videos, like here's a 22-minute video, okay? Or you can take a keynote, that he's done a bunch of those. I don't have what pulled up right now. Or take a keynote, which was, I think, kind of where he started with some of his original starting to produce it or distribute at scale. Take a keynote address and chop it up into all the different things that you talk about during a keynote, pull out the best parts, wrap those in a graphic or something that's appropriate to the channel that you're going to distribute it in, and then that becomes another piece of content. So he does that quite a bit. He also has somebody who follows him around with a video camera. He has videographers on staff, editors on staff, and they video most of his meetings, and if he's going to a meeting, they video him, on the street. Sometimes he'll be shooting something, walking into an office building or something. It just keeps it really in the moment and fresh and fun, to be honest. So not everybody can have a videographer follow them around, right? But you probably all have a keynote, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 keynotes that they've done the video. You could ask for it, you could get a copy of it. And you've always been wondering, what am I gonna do with that keynote? Maybe you did put it on a YouTube channel, nobody ever watched it. Well, what the thing to do is to go through it, get a transcript, go through it, cut out the best pieces, cut those into smaller pieces, and start to put those into your distribution flow, your pipeline. And any good editor, and by the way, this is not super high skilled editing. If you tell them the pieces you want cut, cutting and pasting is basic editing, assembly editing. So you don't need somebody who's $700 an hour to do this. You could get this done really inexpensively if you get organized around it. All right. The last thing I wanted to show you that I really like about what he does, this is kind of second level of repurposing of content. So what we've seen in the past with these other, with Janine and with GaryVee, is they take a big piece of content and they cut it into smaller pieces and distribute that, especially GaryVee, Janine to a lesser extent. But that's one way of repurposing content, just so that you at least have something coming out in each of the channels that you are active in, just to have some activity, right? The next level to go to is to look at the culture of that channel and then pull out content that matches the culture of that channel. This is, you know, requires more resources. It requires having a bunch of content, but this is where GaryVee is at after being in this space for over 10 years. He's got that content. He's got the different chunked areas that he talks about. He's got business information, motivational speaking, and those are the two kind of biggest things that he covers, but on different platforms. So for example, he's got a texting community. That's a way he's gets you onto Messenger, basically Facebook Messenger, is by using that, and also getting your phone number through that. Instagram, like I said, is one of his favorites, and that's probably the place to find his most current kind of mainstream content. TikTok over here, if you haven't heard TikTok yet, go ahead and Google it. It's TikTok with no C's, TikTok. And that's a fun place to go check him out too, because it's content that's geared towards being a little bit irreverent, a little bit more for the younger crowd. So very fun stuff over there. We've already talked about YouTube. Facebook is where he just is posting 4 or 5 times a day, but it's all automated, and it's, like he says, some of his best and most classic content. You're not going to find, you know, what GaryVee's up to this week probably over on Facebook, but you definitely would on, say, Twitter or LinkedIn or some of these that are more current. And he, once again, the thing to notice here is he's looking at the culture of the channel, of the social media channel, and trying to tailor some of his content to that. So obviously LinkedIn, learnings and perspectives from building a big business, right? So that is one thing to learn from GaryVee. Okay, so that's the end of the really quick overview. The main thing to take away that I want you to think about is everybody always talks about, you know, oh, you have to have a big team to do this, or, you know, GaryVee's got 20 people working on his social media, which is probably true. But even as he says, you know, he said, look, for 9 years, I did it by myself. And there is a lot of efficiency that you can capture, and you can actually get a lot done and in the pipeline in a really efficient way if you know the distribution process, if you know how to plan your content strategy using video from, like, with the end in mind, like knowing what you want to be putting out later on. If you know that ahead of time, then you can plan your production and distribution and save a ton of time, and you'd be amazed what you can do just one person, or one person with some assistance. And I can help you with that. All right, thank you for joining me. Let's be in touch. And if you don't have this download thing, I'm sure that you're probably watching this video in on a place where there's a link below to sign up to get it. So be sure you do that, because it pulls together all of these comments I've kind of rushed through and gives you more information about why you might want to be thinking about building a personal brand. And yeah, I love this stuff. It'd be great to talk with you. Someday I'll be featuring your personal brand online in one of these. Okay, bye-bye. See ya.